Well, thanks everyone for joining. My name is Troy Daniels. I'm technical trainer here at SimpliPhi Power. We also will have Matt as well joining us from SimpliPhi. He'll be doing some of the slides as well. And we also have Chris from Renvu. So Renvu, one of our distributors, is co-hosting this. They'll actually be talking a little bit about themselves at the end, what they do and what they offer as just distribution partner. So today we're kind of going through the Battery 101. It's kind of just an introduction to SimpliPhi, where we really kind of discuss the products, a little bit about installation, a little bit about even sales analysis tools, but just to kind of get your feet wet as far as what SimpliPhi offers as a company. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Matthew, and Matthew's going to go ahead and kick us off on the first slides.
Hey, Troy, I had to pass control back to you. There was a little glitch there, and I couldn't unmute.
Oh, let's go ahead. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so just give it a second here. It takes a little time to get started. Awesome. So here's a timeline of our history as a company. We were actually founded as OES Energy in 2010. And then in 2011, we began residential, military, and emergency response applications. In 2013, we began expanding our product line until in 2015, when we relaunched as SimpliPhi Power. Now, currently, we are ramping up manufacturing at our facility in Ventura County, California. So an overview of SimpliPhi's energy storage solutions. They are safe, proven, and simple. Safe meaning cobalt-free chemistry, and that's going to mean that they're non-toxic, non-hazardous, and no risk of thermal runaway with fire. All our solutions are UL certified, and that's 1642, 1973, and 9540A. And for those who don't know, that's the cell, pack, and system level when applicable. They're also UNDOT certified, 3480 and 38.3. Additionally, when we're talking about safety, we got to consider the supply chain, and child labor is prohibited in the supply chain. Proven with over a decade of experience and growth, so now our batteries are outliving their warranty. We're tested and validated by the U.S. Army and Marine Corps. And our business model demonstrates that social impact and profitability can coexist. If you follow us on social media or you get our newsletters, you'll see that we engage in a lot of humanitarian projects, which I'm super fond of. We also have special permission from the FAA to airship globally, and this is not something that every battery has. This is definitely specific to us. When we say simple, this is important because you can integrate and optimize our batteries with any generation source. You can store energy for critical backup power, maximize resilience and energy security at your home, and create savings on utility bills. So to give you a map that shows our footprint, our large distribution network has allowed us to expand into over 40 countries that we've had our batteries installed in, and that totals to over 100 megawatt hours since 2010. And to give you an overview of the diverse range of applications our batteries are currently used in, there's commercial and industrial, residential uses, off-grid and microgrid power security, and emergency response and preparedness. And this probably doesn't even cover them all. I've recently seen a lot of our batteries used in mobile applications and even robotics. So for an overview of battery chemistry, specifically comparing LFP batteries to some other lithium-ion chemistries on the market, you may have seen an article or a news clip where a lithium-ion battery caught fire, and that really sparks fear into our hearts, and luckily, not all lithium batteries are the same. Our batteries do not contain cobalt, which is the source of less thermal stability. So with the lack of cobalt, lithium iron phosphates have no danger of thermal runaway or fire, no toxic elements. They're actually landfill safe, even though we wouldn't really recommend you landfill them. We want to see them recycled, of course. But it also does not involve abusive mining practices, and there's no ventilation, cooling equipment, or safety monitoring equipment required. Plus, they're able to withstand high temperatures up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So, of course, we want to use lithium iron phosphate, the best chemistry available. And when choosing a form factor to actually physically build the battery, when you look at the different form factors available, pouch cells are often used in laptops. They're a little bit more prone to puncture. Prismatic cells are a little bit more bulky and pricey, and cylindrical cells we like the best because they have built-in short circuit protection, as well as the fact that we have found them to just be the best performing and longest lasting battery available. So when specifying the battery we're going to use to build our building block here, we're going to, of course, choose lithium iron phosphate and cylindrical form factor to build the battery that is the building block. And this is a really versatile building block for any size system, any energy storage and power needs. So I'm going to hand it off to Troy here so he can talk a little bit more in depth about our batteries.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. Hey, I just wanted to mention everybody as well. I didn't say at the beginning, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, if you scroll up to the top of that black bar there, you'll see a Q&A section. It's a little tab. You can type in any questions there, and at the end, we'll try to get around to all of them. Big question that always comes up, will these slides and recording be available afterwards? We are recording right now, so we will have follow-up with all the slides and the recording. All right, so back to batteries and what our batteries are. So Matt kind of discussed what our batteries are. The lithium iron phosphate, using specific manufacturing process to really try to maximize the lifespan of the battery and maximize the performance of the battery. So because of that, we can stand behind certain warranty parameters. This has actually just recently changed. We used to warranty based off of depth of discharge specifically, and certain cycles based on that depth of discharge. Excuse me. The current warranty now is 10 years unlimited cycles, no matter the depth of discharge. So whether it's 100 or whether it's 80, it's going to always be unlimited cycles. We'll talk a little bit about this later. I have some slides coming up that we're going to talk about expected life and depth of discharge. But as far as the warranty goes, it is just 10 years. EOL, this is a common term used in lithium batteries in general as far as warranty goes. EOL really referring to what would be the expected, or I hate to say minimum expectance of that battery's remaining capacity at the end of its warranty. So in this case, consider, we would expect to see 80% of the original battery's capacity at 10 years. This EOL is actually pretty high, so I definitely would suggest looking into other companies' EOLs, and you'll see it is fairly high. Okay, as far as operating and charging temperature. So operating is a bit interesting. This is talking about discharge and really standby. So the system's on, but it's not doing anything. It is a little wider, -4 to 140. However, again, this is just when it comes to discharging or standby. So charging temperature, probably the more important of the two to keep in mind, 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the temperature we want to stick within when we are charging the battery. As far as the high end goes, the great thing here is we don't have a lot of need for coolant, HVAC, ventilation when it comes to the batteries. The BMS, battery management system, this comes with all of our batteries. We'll talk a little bit about this later as far as There is 2 different types of BMS now based on the different batteries. However, as far as the BMS's function, the simpler BMS, we're talking overcurrent protection, short circuit protection, charge and discharge protection. Now, this is kind of a last resort situation where we really want to use proper sizing and programming to make sure that these are not an issue. These discharge protections need to be used, but it does have that function. It also does cell balancing. This is a key feature when it comes to battery management systems and lithium batteries, is to actually bleed off resistance and level out that battery as it charges. Okay, some other kind of key features to understand about our batteries is our C rate. So all of our standard batteries are rated for a maximum, they're actually rated at C/2 and rated for a maximum continuous discharge and charge at C/2 as well. What does that mean? If you don't know what a C rate is by chance, C rate is just a measure of the rate at which a battery is discharged relative to its maximum capacity. So in this kind of realm of thinking, C/2 would be really referring to we can discharge or charge half the battery's capacity in a 2-hour window. So if it's a 3.8 kilowatt hour battery, we can charge at 1.9 kilowatts per hour for 2 hours. So this is something definitely to keep in mind when you're talking about powering larger power supplies, like maybe an air conditioning unit, something like something that has a high demand. But it's also something really important to keep in mind when it comes to TV charging. So if you're looking at like a lead acid battery, you might not see that ability to charge very quickly. You might have a C/5 rate. This really allows us to maximize a lot of sunlight, and for people off grid and things like that, it can be a huge benefit to getting that battery charged quickly. Our batteries are scalable and expandable. So as far as scalability goes, we have no limit to our 48, 24, and 12 volt batteries as far as scaling up, putting these batteries in parallel. I mean, this system on the left here, 88 of these batteries, 300 kilowatt hours, and these are all in parallel. These are all just 48 volt modules. Also, we have the ability to expand. This is something you really do not see a lot when it comes to lithium manufacturers. The ability to actually go and add new batteries to an older system. So I would say it's probably not, it's not super wise to go ahead and add a 6-year-old battery, some new batteries to a 6-year-old system. However, if it's 2 or 3 years, it's a great idea. I will say the warranty does revert back to the oldest battery in the system, but it's still a great feature when it comes to maybe there was a bit of a sizing mishap, maybe customers' energy and power demands have just grown. And it's true with almost all lithium batteries, self-contained and stable, no off-gassing, no need for any sort of maintenance really, you're not watering or checking specific gravity or anything like that. And the battery actually has a low self-discharge rate definitely when we're talking about comparing to lead acid. I like to think of the car, you think of your car, you leave your car out for, let's say 3 months without driving it. It could be very likely at that point that you come back with a dead battery. Our batteries lose about less than 1% per month, meaning if they sit in standby, they're really not going to lose a lot of power, and that power is going to be available. That energy storage is going to be available when you need it. Great picture. I know some of the team members might scold me for using this one as I've got a newer updated one, but I still like this picture. Even though the batteries, I will say, we do not allow for these batteries to be mounted upside down anymore, meaning the leads facing downwards. But this was an older example of a lead acid replacement. You can see here on the left, a lot of corrosion, a lot of cables running all over the place. Looks like they're flooded lead acids, most likely built into a battery box. likely requires a vent fan, replaced with a much smaller bank, about a third of the size. Actually, the one on the right, our batteries have more power and energy available. So not only are you getting more out of a smaller package, they last longer, they're cleaner, and you can mount them on the wall and make it look real nice. Okay, let's go through our products real quick. I'm going to give some brief overview of some products. I will be talking about a few of these products a little bit more in depth as we get through the presentation, but just as a quick overview. Our biggest seller, our most common battery, is our 3.8 kilowatt hour module. This comes in 151 amp hours at 24 volts, 75 amp hours at 48 volts. This is simple parallel connections only, meaning you cannot series these batteries. They are modular and scalable. We designed them to be small building blocks that can be built up into larger systems. 24 volt and 48 volt options, as I mentioned, integrated battery management system. That BMS is on each of these batteries, and an integrated circuit breaker, which is also really there a little bit for protection, and a little bit there for protection, but more than just that, it also really helps as far as installation goes. You can kind of de-energize the leads when needed, and it really helps out. We also offer some smaller products. This is our 12 volt battery. It also comes in 24 volts, but definitely as far as the 12 volt goes, this is the one to go with. The 1.4 kilowatt hour battery. This is scalable as well. It is small and lightweight. It's about 33 pounds. It's great for mobile applications. It's compatible with most standard charge controllers and inverters that we would use on our other batteries. And it actually still has an integrated battery management system. You can see here on the picture, if you follow my mouse here, there is an Anderson connector. This is typically sent out with these systems, unless asked otherwise, though you can always get it with bare wires. But the kind of cool part is no battery leads, which can really help out in some mobile applications, some tight spaces. We also offer these Jennies. These are all-in-one products, the big Jenny and the little Jenny. Still utilizing the same LFP chemistry and manufacturing processes, but it is these little packs, the 1200 watt and the 300 watt. Okay, on to more of our all-in-one systems. We also offer the Express unit. You can see here it's built with our batteries, some Magnum equipment. This is NEMA 3R mobile rated, so it is on wheels, but it's also still NEMA 3R, which is kind of cool. And it can be kind of helpful to bring on site to some trickier sites. This is designed not to need hard wiring, meaning we can connect PV straight into this DC quick connect inlet. We actually have an AC inlet for charging straight from the grid, 4 outlets. You can see them actually right here under this case, and 2 USB ports. This is so you can discharge direct to loads without having to hardwire into a loads panel. Our access line, we're going to talk a lot about the access later when we go through some installation stuff, but the access line is also all-in-one inverter charger batteries built into a NEMA 3R cabinet. This can be DC or AC coupled. And again, we'll really go through it and talk about the kind of various access solutions that we have. Just a quick mention, we also do offer high voltage solutions for CNI projects. So this might be something like a microgrid or a large scale backup, something that requires that 480 volt 3-phase AC power. We do have this product available. It's a bit different as an external BMS, a stat controller, you could say, 200, 800 VDC nominal as far as the building of the voltage. And then you can stack those voltage blocks and build up your energy storage. Comes with communications built in, CAN bus, Modbus, and Ethernet. You can see actually, just to jump right back, you can actually see the stacks here. So there's the BMS stacks built up into a containerized solution with the inverter and everything. So we do have that available as a product as well, but definitely on a bit of a more case-by-case basis when discussing that. It's not a super standard product. Our newest battery, I'm really excited about this one. We're seeing a lot of good things coming from this battery here. This is still a 3.8 kilowatt hour battery, though this is the AmpliPHI. This is our new battery that actually has closed loop communication direct to the inverter, which gives it some big advantages. It also is a little bit different as far as the max discharge is actually 100 amps at 10 minutes. That's not max continuous. That's maximum discharge. I would call it surge, basically. Our standard 3.8 can only do about 60 amps DC for 10 minutes, which is still a lot, but this one can really handle a lot per battery. Some things to consider with it: limited, only 30 batteries in a chain, so there is not an unlimited parallel factor here. We do have a limit. It's 30 batteries, and that's due to the comms cables. It's the same dimensions. A little bit heavier, like 7 pounds or something like that, heavier than the standard battery. It is in a metal case now. But the cool thing is it still works in our standard energy storage cabinets and using our wall brackets. So again, closed loop communication with the inverter. Currently, we have it set up to work with the Solar+. This is the only one I would recommend setting it up with right now. We do have some other inverters we're going to be adding on right now. But it is currently set up to communicate direct with that Solar+. It auto-populates set points, meaning you don't have to program most of the set points. If you're actually interested in this battery, by the way, I've got there's a slide deck on our YouTube channel we just did with Solar+, talking in depth about this battery and what its functions are. This is a bit of a high level, quick, easy explanation of the battery. So high level protection, because the BMS is actually telling the inverter what to do, there is a lot of protection that's built in that way, and making sure that things operate the way that we want the battery to operate. Allows us to actually size smaller. We'll talk about sizing later on, but just know that this one actually does not have the sizing requirements as the others do, and we'll talk about that. It also has high level accurate readings for SOC, state of charge, voltage, charge and discharge, because it's actually reporting direct from the battery itself. Okay, so I want to hop through a little bit of sales real quick, and then I can actually jump into a little bit about installation sizing, and we can wrap up with passing over the controls to Renvu to discuss their business as well. Levelized cost of energy, or LCOE or LCOES now, levelized cost of energy storage. This is how I look at it, is an ROI related to batteries specifically, or energy storage specifically. Looking at, what does the cost of a kilowatt hour truly mean? Besides looking at just upfront cost, we need to look at things like warranty, throughput, efficiency, depth of discharge, usable capacity. It all makes sense when really trying to show a customer how much is that battery going to cost you over the lifetime of the battery. So I won't actually bore you with this equation. This is the equation we use. The cool part here, and let's make sure this works. We'll see here. Okay, let's pull that out. Perfect. So this is our levelized cost of energy tool. I apologize if it's not working for any reason. Just shoot me a message if you can't see my screen. Okay. This is the tool that we actually designed to calculate levelized cost of energy storage for the customer, the installer, very easily. All you have to do, pick your battery. You write in how much you're paying for it. So let's say maybe, maybe we need, let's say, $3,000. That's how much we're paying for it. We're using 80% depth of discharge. It'll actually just tell you exactly what the throughput is. It'll calculate all that out for you, and you get this value here. So this would be 9 cents per battery. The cool thing is, once you have that cost, you can click compare to lead acid or compare to other lithium manufacturers. And this will be able to give you a comparison to use as far as levelized cost of energy. All right, let me pop back into the presentation, make sure this works. Boom. Okay, cool. So that's kind of quick and easy as far as sales go. I won't jump into it too much. We are working on some more sales pointed presentations, but I do like to mention, comparing costs, as a lot of installers especially are also doing the sales portion of their business as well. So we try to make it as easy as possible, and really just, hey, this is the cost of the lifetime of the battery versus maybe a battery they're looking at that does have a bit of a lower cost up front. Okay, depth of discharge. I mentioned this earlier. Our old warranty was based on depth of discharge. So we're kind of jumping into battery sizing here. And depth of discharge, oftentimes now is looked at as, hey, if you warranty, 100% depth of discharge, why shouldn't I just use 100% depth of discharge on all my systems? Simple answer is lifetime of the battery. You want to go beyond that warranty. That 10-year warranty is just a warranty, but these batteries have the ability to last well beyond that warranty. And really, the depth of discharge is going to be a big factor in that. So if you are using 80% versus 100%, you're just going to see a longer lifespan out of the battery. It also can be a bit of a mode of operation situation. What are you using the batteries for to base what you do want to use your depth of discharge? So for instance, if we have a system that is battery backup only, maybe it's AC coupled, maybe it's tied to a grid tied array, and it's just for when the power goes out. That's a system that's not going to be charging and discharging on a daily basis, or probably even a weekly basis oftentimes. In those kind of situations, it probably does make sense actually to use 90 or 100% of the battery's total capacity to discharge it lower, because we don't need as many cycles, and you're really not going to make the life of the battery go down too much in that kind of situation. Now, when it comes to off-grid, way different. We want to maximize the life of that battery. We want to make sure that we are using as little, I don't want to say as little, but let's just think off-grid, we're charging, we're discharging on a daily basis. We want to make sure that 80% is a really good placeholder to make sure that at the end of 10 years, you're still kicking it on that battery. You're still using, you have a lot of life left in that battery. You haven't used it as detrimentally as you have maybe in the backup scenario, where you just pull it down to 100%, then it charges back up and sits there again for weeks without discharging. So again, it can depend on your mode of operation. But if you needed a recommendation, what is my all-time recommendation? 80% depth of discharge is always going to give you the longest lifespan. Okay, a little also about battery sizing. I mentioned this earlier. We're going to jump into it now. The kind of golden rule, the rule of thumb I would always use to make sure to not damage your battery out of warranty as well, is do not over discharge your battery. The best way to accomplish this is to make sure that you are sizing the inverter to twice the inverter's output capability. So what does that mean? For this example, we have an 8,000 watt radian, an Outback radian here. This inverter has a capability of doing 8,000 watts. We know the SimpliPhi battery can only handle C over 2. So each 3.8, let's say, battery can really only handle 1.9 kilowatts. So we just need to make sure that our battery bank total can be, basically, it can take the entire force of that inverter if the inverter decides to over discharge. Again, this is the easiest way to make sure you never over discharge and fry a customer's battery. So let's say 1.9 times 5 is 9.5. That's kilowatts continuous that a 5 battery bank can handle. That would ensure that this inverter here could never over discharge the battery. If you want to kind of look at it in super easy terms, this is a good rule of thumb. Here's an 8,000 watt inverter, double that size. So the radian 8,000 times 2, that's 16. So let's say 8 kilowatts times 2, we have 16. That's kilowatt hours now, we'll say. That's the battery bank total size that I would use. So we just take 16 and divide it by 3.8 to get our battery quantity. Now, this is a lot, I know, and it definitely makes sense after you've done a few installs. But just, if you have any questions as far as minimum battery requirements to the inverter, just let us know, because it's a lot easier to catch it in the beginning than it is to call when something's gone wrong. We're always happy to help. So, also though, on the same note, a really cool tool we have is a battery bank size estimator. Let's see if I can get this to open without my computer crashing. There it goes. Okay, this is a pretty handy tool when it comes to sizing. Let's give it a second here. So this one is a little bit more intuitive than our standard calculator. We do have a calculator that you put in the loads and you say, hey, my customer uses 10 kilowatt hours per day. How many batteries do I need? This one, on the other hand, takes into account things like, are you AC coupled? Are you DC coupled? What's your inverter size? Basically looking at all these different functions, and I won't go through too much of it here because I'll lose track of what I'm doing, but it will give you a battery quantity based on way more than just average daily consumption, but really the system specifics that you're working on. So if you wanted just a bit of a quick and easy one, you can always use our quick bank calculator. This is a really nice tool as well. Just type in your average consumption, 14 per day. I want 1 day of autonomy, and I want a 48-volt battery. And it will give you the exact quantity of batteries. However, if you're looking for a more intuitive one that takes into other factors, I would definitely recommend that other tool. On another note regarding sizing, I'm going to bore you with one more tool here. And actually, if you're interested in more about our tools, I'm going to be doing a webinar here in the next couple of weeks that is all about our tools on our website, diving in really deep about how to use them, going over a ton of different examples. This one, though, is handy. It actually lets you put in your current lead acid batteries. So, let's say we have 2-volt cells, and so in this case, let's say it would be 12 of those, so it's a 24-volt battery. We have a 240 amp hours. We can actually select our depth of discharge that we're using with the lead acid battery. Then we can select our new battery we want to replace it with, and it will spit you out a quantity of, okay, you need one of our 24-volt batteries to replace this 24-volt, 240 amp hour lead acid. Super helpful tool. Again, if you want more about our tools, we got some really cool stuff coming up that's going to dive really deep into how to use these tools for your benefit. Okay, so this would be kind of the section I'm going to wrap it up with. We're going to talk a little bit about installation and programming. We'll start with installation. This is a very brief overview, so it's not too in-depth, but if you are looking for more in-depth, we definitely have plenty of other presentations that go really granular on the installation. Okay, if you need any materials, manuals, spec sheets, integration guides, check out our website under product documentation. You can find all sorts of good supporting docs there that can be very helpful. Okay, shipping and receiving. This is how the batteries are going to typically come unless somebody changes the box when it leaves our facility, but this is how they look when they ship. In this absorbent box, single battery in each box. Definitely check the box for damage. Talk to your distribution partner about their specific policy on that, but typically for us, at least once it leaves our facility, we cannot file a shipping claim. So I would always say, right as shipping, if you get a box that's damaged, don't necessarily assume that just because you can't tell the battery's damaged that nothing has happened. And I would typically say to tell the shipping company to maybe take it back. Okay, as far as installation and as far as mounting and clearance goes, we have no clearance requirements, which is really nice actually. So meaning that these batteries here can actually sit flush up against each other. Maybe if they're on a shelf, they could be right up against each other. Um, as far as mounting goes, we do have our own SimpliPhi brackets actually pictured here. These are going to make mounting really easy because they're already designed for our batteries, and they're really easy to install. Not a requirement though. You could use anything like a rack, a battery box. I've seen people put them on the floor. It's not unheard of. I've seen actually a few batteries in some kitchens in Puerto Rico sitting above a shelf. So I think there's definitely a lot of, we leave it up to the installer to really figure out, where do you want these batteries? And as long as whatever you're putting the batteries is dry and can hold the batteries structurally, we really aren't too upset about anything. As far as mounting and orientation goes, I mentioned it earlier, you can actually mount these on their sides or even lay them on their sides. The only thing we do not warranty is if these battery leads are facing down, just because it can push down the power electronics over time. Oops, sorry about that. Wiring is a bit something that we need to look at. So parallel wiring we do a little bit differently when it comes to the SimpliPhi battery. You might be used to running from positive to positive. Let's say these were cables and you're just jumping and then going up to a bus bar. We recommend same length, same size cable, each running separately to a common connection point or to a bus bar if you are going to use cables. And this really helps distribute the power evenly as well as get that high 98% efficiency of the battery. You can use, this question is going to come up, we use terminal bus bars on some of our installs, so that is absolutely fine. So if you have a bus bar that lays across each terminal, that is okay as well. If you are building a larger system and trying to parallel a lot of batteries on some sort of common connection point, you can use things like battery combiner boxes. Here's the Midnight battery combiner box where you can parallel a lot of batteries. Right here, they actually just built a new one of these that I like even better. I think it has more slots actually to land more batteries. But again, this is just basic DC bus. It's just copper. It's conductive. We're landing batteries on this piece of copper. So DC bus just needs to be rated for amperage voltage of how many batteries we're combining. So an example of a combiner used here, you can see this installer ran each battery, positive and negatives, to this combiner box. A lot of extra protection in this combiner box. Big breaker here, surge protectors, breakers here. Not a requirement. There are breakers on the batteries, so you don't necessarily need that, but it can be really helpful to add that extra protection in for installations. And then from there, they are running out and connecting to each inverter. This is actually the Outback Radiant, and it looks like somebody pulled the cover off it for the install. So I know it's a little messy here, but I like this picture. It's really showing you as the installation is coming together and everything nice and wired up. Okay, torque specifications, super easy to remember, or just look up in our manual. So 160 inch-pounds, 13.3 foot-pounds. Over torque and you will damage the battery. So sometimes you will notice if you are torquing it, there might be a little bit of give on the top of the terminal. That is normal, just keep going. But that being said, always make sure you're calibrating your torque wrench. I can't tell you how many installers that I've been in the field with that are complaining about not being able to get to that designated torque. And I take a look, and sure enough, they were not calibrating their torque wrench in between job sites. So please do that. And please use a torque wrench, not like an impact drill or something. Okay, as far as system commissioning goes, I mentioned integration guides for a second earlier. This is actually a little bit out of our Schneider integration guide right here. These are so helpful. They are guides that we put together with various inverters, such as Outback, Schneider, SMA, all these different inverter companies that we would typically see people asking to pair with. And we just lay out exactly what that company says as far as language. So, bulk voltage equalized and they spell it this exact way, you know, things like that. And we tell you exactly what we would recommend for a set point. So this could be everything from telling you whether you should use 2-stage versus 3-stage charging, which, by the way, if you are using 2-stage, that's because you're charging from an AC source, like the grid maybe. If you're using 3-stage, it typically means you're charging from PV. It also goes through basic settings like the absorb, the bulk voltage, the absorb time, the float voltage if you are using one, low battery cutout, high battery cutout, and even max charge per battery. So if you use these guides and follow them exactly, it's very easy to program the system to our exact specifications. These settings are pretty key. So low battery cutout especially, that's when I see people not set up properly oftentimes and discharge the battery too low. So definitely look through these guides if you need to kind of figure out exactly how to program it, or just give us a call. We can direct you as well. Also in these guides, you might find some advanced features or advanced set points like cell or even AGS triggers, automatic generator start trigger recommendations. So we try to kind of put most of the settings through that. Okay, I'd lied. Last is actually talking about installation and programming related to the access solution. I actually give it its own little section here because it's a lot to talk about. So again, the access is a pre-wired system. It's crated up and delivered. It's actually drop shipped, which is really nice for our distributors and for customers. The batteries are actually delivered on a separate pallet, but still it's included in the cost. And you basically just connect the batteries, connect the AC stuff, connect the DC stuff if you are going that route, and you're good to go. Everything's built in. It's NEMA 3R outdoor rated. Comes in 2 different types of access right now, and that's just based on the components we're using within the access. So the Schneider access is actually the very first access we ever designed, and we are still using those. It comes with the Schneider XW Pro now. We switched over from the Plus to the Pro. I don't think there's any of those left. It's all Pros now. This one comes with the inverter charger built in, though the charge controller is optional. So by that I mean the system is AC coupled standard, so be ready to hook up to a grid-tied array. And it actually has the option of getting DC coupled, meaning you can add that charge controller and have a DC coupled system. The other variation, our newest variation, and we've pared down, we used to have more access solutions, but now we have these 2. And these are the ones that we like to stick with. And they work really well. So we have the Solarc access solution. This is a 12 kilowatt Solarc inverter. The cool thing with this one, it can be AC coupled or DC coupled, no matter what, however you buy it. The MPPT, the charge controller, is actually built straight into the unit, which makes it very easy to run strings actually right into the charge controller. And go DC coupled if you want, or you can go AC coupled. It really wouldn't make a difference in this case which version you bought. It can do some cool functions like self-consumption and TOU even when AC coupled. Rapid shutdown built in. I think this is really more has to do with just the ability to have that button that can connect to the modular level shutdown and disconnect the Solarc itself, which would act as a battery rapid shutdown disconnect. Okay, something to consider with all of our access, they do not require transfer switches. They have auto transfer switches built into them, meaning when the grid goes down, if you are grid tied with the access solution, which by the way, you can put these off grid as well if you have a DC coupled version. But if you are grid tied, grid goes down, it will automatically disconnect from the grid and you will go into island mode where you can not only charge from your solar array, even when AC coupled or DC coupled, but you can discharge your batteries. So basically you have the ability to self-sustain for quite some time if there is sunlight available. It's definitely a really big advantage compared to a lot of maybe all-in-one solutions you might see that only have that ability to discharge the battery, and that's it. This can charge and discharge throughout the day. And if it's DC coupled, it can even go all the way down to 0 and still if the sun comes back out and the grid's not on, it'll charge back up. They can support generators as well. So they really act as a hub for all these different energy sources that can charge and discharge. So definitely kind of helpful as far as the AC coupled market goes. This is a big seller, is the access solution. As far as monitoring goes, we're just using these platforms that were already put before us. The Schneider platform is just the Schneider. Actually, I think it's now the WebBox. I think we've switched over, I want to say, so I will double check on that. But this is just, if you look over here, we can see historical data, real-time data, what's going on exactly at that moment with PV production, grid, is it selling, where's the loads at, where's the battery at, is the generator running? And then we can also have historical monitoring where we can pull through the data. Solarc, we're really looking at the almost, I mean, I hate to say, but all of these platforms to me look very similar. So again, real-time monitoring and historical monitoring. Now I will say one thing, I want to go back really quick. The Solarc Access actually has an option now to be paired with our AmpliPHI battery. So as I mentioned, the AmpliPHI is our closed loop communication battery that communicates directly with the Solarc. That is an option to get this access solution instead of the standard Phi batteries with the new AmpliPHI batteries. Cool thing if you do go that route, this SOC reading and this monitoring platform will be as accurate as you could possibly want. It is going to be taking exactly what the battery is reading as far as voltage, state of charge, what the current going in and out is, and it's going to be telling the Solarc exactly that. So it's going to be able to really accurately read. I know I had a lot of customers when I was installing that really wanted, hey, what is the most granular data I can find? Monitoring can be really key when it comes to a customer level. And this allows for the most accurate monitoring. Okay, and just to wrap up my portion here, we also have something I want to talk about called our installer qualification program. So when we go to our installer qualification program, I'm going to pop this open real quick. It is not a requirement, just FYI, to install our batteries. It's an added benefit. So basically, you go through our installer qualification program, which includes installing 2 batteries, attending this webinar, you've already passed one of the steps, and basically getting through this test, which is pretty straightforward if you kind of take your time through it, and you end up being able to become IQ certified, which gives you some benefits like giving a swag pack. We like to highlight our IQ installers, and we also like to count on them as our first recommendation if we were to recommend an installer. Application's super easy. Just fill it out online. It comes right to me, and we just process them and let you know if you have everything, you're pretty much good to go. The biggest benefit to becoming IQ certified is landing on our Where to Buy page. All of our distributors are on our Where to Buy page as a distribution partner. But if you want to become somebody that is IQ certified, obviously you're not buying from us direct, but you are listed as somebody that we would recommend a customer goes to. So here's one of our IQ certified installers right here, Voltage River, and you can see that they have a direct line here. So if a customer is on the website, they're looking for, hey, I need an installer in my area, and you're on here as an IQ installer, they're probably going to call you, which is a really big benefit. Okay, let me pop back over to the slides. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Chris from Renvu, and Chris is going to wrap us up with a little bit about Renvu. So Chris, you should have the controls now.
All right, thank you very much, Troy. Hey everyone, my name is Chris, and thanks for sticking with us thus far. Let's see if I can go ahead and get to the next slide here. Oh. All right, yeah, so Renvu was founded in 2012. We're headquartered over in Mountain View, California, so that's South Bay area near San Francisco. We have multiple fulfillment centers across the US, so located in California, Texas, and New Jersey. And our sales team is comprised of sales engineers with a comprehensive science and engineering background. So if you ever need any help with design, or if you have any technical questions, whether it be SimpliPhi or just solar questions in general, we'd be happy to help you out. And then some of the installer services we offer, they are definitely not limited to these, but some of them include on-site analysis, mainly for commercial projects. But if you have any, if you have a project in particular that you want to show us, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can let you know what we can do for you on a case-by-case basis. Professional engineering services, generally we offer this for all types of projects. These engineering services include site plans, wiring diagrams, PE stamps, whether it be electrical or structural, and any type of CAD design that you might need for construction. And then we also work with companies for business credit terms. We're working with Credit Key at the moment. So if you're looking to apply for a credit line, please feel free to reach out to us for that, and we can point you in the right direction. And then also, if you have any excess inventory that you want to get rid of that hasn't been used yet, we might be interested in taking that off your hands. So feel free to reach out to us for that, and we can discuss some pricing on your materials. And then also we offer the Megawatt membership club. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it is free shipping for a full year on all products. And it's a big hit with our installers, especially because they're always ordering rails, batteries, panels consistently, and it just helps to reduce your shipping costs by having that fixed $950 a year for all free shipping. And then we have some battery calculators and system calculators on our website. It's called the Solar Kit Guide. We can calculate, or the calculator allows you to design your own system without knowing much, whether it be grid tied, off grid, or battery backup. You can choose your panels, you can choose your inverter, your racking setup, and we essentially lay it out all for you to easily design and get a good understanding of what the cost is going to turn out to be and what materials you're going to be ending up with. And then that's the Solar Kit Guide. Battery Upgrade Guide is very similar, but that's for retrofitting systems. So if you already have a grid-tied system at the moment, you can use the Battery Upgrade Guide to retrofit to allow your system to be battery compatible. Inter-row spacing calculators and other calculators as well, like string sizing calculators. Similar to SimpliPhi, we offer calculators to help you with your design of whatever project you may have. And then this is just a quick look at what our solar kit guide looks like. You can choose the type of roof you have. It shows the bill of materials on the left side, as well as a brief overview of the specs in the top left. And then at the top, you can see the different steps where you start out giving some preferences on your project, and then you have panels, racking, microinverters or string inverters, BOS, and then the final quote. Similarly, it's the same thing for battery backup systems. It looks a little bit different. We're going to be asking you some questions on your battery needs, whether you know what you want, or if you don't know, we can help you figure that out. And also, I should mention that our sales engineers are fully equipped to help you out with this too. If you don't want to go through this, you can talk to someone and go through this as well. And then where to look for battery storage equipment. You can see we have a energy storage website, as well as a off-grid and backup section on our solar website. Either way, you should be able to find the SimpliPhi batteries and equipment, as well as other off-grid and backup materials. I should also mention that we currently have a promo for the 3.8 kilowatt hour, 48 volt SimpliPhi battery. We're rolling out a $50 Visa gift card per battery that you purchase. And then also we'll be rolling out some other promos within the near future for the access units and potentially other versions of the SimpliPhi's batteries. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to us. to get more information on the promo. And then especially installers, if you guys have any projects that you want to work on in the future, please let us know. We can help you design for that. All right, that ends up my portion. And then I guess we'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Awesome. Yeah. And by the way, I didn't know about the megawatt club, but man, that I got to join that one myself. That's a big deal. Oh, no, I really like that. All right. So as I mentioned, we have Renvu here to answer questions, myself, as well as Dan, who's one of our sales people here that can help answer questions too. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the Q&A open, see what questions we have, and see if we can get through these. What is the AmpliPHI BMS communication protocol? So it actually has the ability to have multiple different protocols. So we are currently, like I said, it's currently just with that Solar, which I believe is just CAN bus. But it will have the ability to have different types of Modbus as well on there, so that we can integrate with basically all different inverters. And again, this is not some sort of card externally that you put in to say, hey, this is a Solar or this is a Schneider. It's going to be, hey, this is whatever. It knows what it's plugged into. So currently, again, though, it's just the Solar, so just using, I believe that CAN bus, I want to say. Okay, let's see here. I'll just defer real quick to Renvu before I jump into this question, but I live in Germany. Can I order in Germany? Just to make sure, Renvu team, before I say anything else, just want to make sure if you do happen to ship to Germany for any reason or have some sort of connection there.
Yeah, absolutely. We ship internationally. We've done business with customers in Germany before, so definitely not new to us. Also, I should say that we deliver internationally. We can do business with all types of systems, we only don't ship to embargoed countries. That's it. So
awesome. Yep. Okay, so can you parallel? This is a question coming up. Can you parallel lithium iron phosphate with PB acid batteries? So definitely want to pair different types of batteries when you're paralleling. They have to be two different systems. Lithium battery chemistry, yes. Sorry if the title was misleading there. I thought we did talk a little bit about chemistry, but really we're talking about lithium iron. The question is, I thought we were going to talk more about chemistry. Really, we're just kind of talking about it in the form of how it is related to our battery and uses. Will this Zoom webinar be available on demand? Yes, so we put everything on our YouTube channel, so we'll shoot over a link with Renvu as well, and we will have the full link to the actual recording and try to send out the slides as well. Access low temperature, good question. Related to the charge temperature, so that 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are looking at an access solution that might be in a colder temperature that ranges in that, I would say just contact us and we can walk you through some options that you might have. Will the Solar access retrofit to an existing grid-tied array? Absolutely. AC coupled is totally fine. If you've got a grid-tied array, just definitely check out these Solar's limits as far as how much PV you can tie up. It's in our manual, actually. It's in our Solar access manual. But absolutely, you can hook that unit right up to an existing array and add a battery in. For Renvu, does the design tools have option to select flat roof in concrete?
Yes, we do. And also, if you have any special, flat roof application, our sales engineers can help you design for that as well and give you some site plans for that.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see, we're almost there at the bottom here. Can we use your batteries with other brands of UPS systems as battery backup? Seen that before. I've had some questions there. I would need to see the direct application there to make a call on that. Definitely as far as, using our batteries as a UPS, it's going to be more on the inverter than anything, but definitely check it out. Do you have And by the way, Dan, if there's any sales things that you want to catch there, I see a question that might be good for you just to go ahead and type the answer back to. Do you have an installer in Washington State? I don't have a specific installer I would recommend. I would say actually probably maybe reach out to Renvu if you're going to be purchasing through them, and they might be able to help you hook you up with an installer. Or you can always check out our IQ certified web page, as I mentioned, which has our various IQ certified installers. All right. We need to source some bus bars for adding 5 batteries to irradiant systems. You don't want to use the midnight battery combiner. I'll ask Renvu, I guess. So we don't actually sell bus bars direct. I'm sure though Renvu probably has some sort of bus bar.
Yep. Yeah, we can point you in the right direction. If you need help with finding equipment for a special design,
Awesome.
Yeah, we can source that for you.
Cool. And Dan, I think I said, if you don't mind taking that one right there. That one, the one I haven't dismissed yet. Can you AC and DC couple at the same time with a solar? Okay, good question. I kind of hate that question because I get it a lot. Can you do that? And it's a bit tricky to say that. Yes, technically speaking, we can do that. You do need to still consider there's limits. So we want to make sure that we are within the limits of the PV on both sides. So there's definitely some considerations. I've seen it done though. Yes, you can actually have AC and DC coupled at the same time on a single unit. Okay. And so question about certified installers. So yeah, it says just take the test. Actually go ahead and fill out that application on that page. Just to, let me go ahead and bring it up real quick. So if you're looking for the page, you are going to want to go here on our website and go to training installer qualification page. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see this application. Fill this out. It'll come right to me as a filled out application, and we will walk you through the next steps. But really, just going to be taking the test at that point. If you have all the other requirements, like the 2 installs and this webinar that you just attended, and we will get you all up and running. The other question is related to that. Is there a cost associated? No cost at all. It's free. Can your BMS shut down the battery at 80% depth of discharge? The BMS is not designed. It's set at actually pretty low depth of discharge. That's why we'd rely on either low battery cutout to possibly, low battery cutout is probably gonna be your best bet to make sure that you disconnect at 80% depth of discharge. Last question, I believe. Do you provide training classes to become an installer? So again, we have various webinars and trainings. There's a few that are required. This Battery 101 is definitely one of them. However, there is kind of a lot more that are more advanced that I would check out as well if you want to really get up to speed on becoming an installer. But again, the IQ certification is not a requirement to install our batteries. All right. Well, hey, I just wanted to give a big thanks to the Renvu team for co-hosting with us. I really appreciate it. And Chris, if there's any last words you kind of want to hop in with, I put my training here, or my email here, by the way, everybody. If you have any questions regarding trainings, regarding the IQ program, you can actually email me right there at training@simplifypower.com.
Yep. Yeah. And likewise, thank you to everyone over at SimpliPhi. And thanks again for everyone joining the webinar today. Again, we have promotions rolling out for a bunch of the SimpliPhi equipment. And feel free to reach out to info@renvu.com. Again, that's info@renvu.com. If you have any design questions, sales questions, anything related to battery storage, and especially SimpliPhi, we're happy to help you out. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. See you guys.